Hussein Dajani, General Manager, Digital and Customer Experience Transformation from Nissan. Hello, Hussein.
Thank you so much.
It's very cozy, this little fireside chat, isn't it, Hussein?
It is, indeed.
So we're going to be having a one-on-one conversation, ladies and gentlemen. We're basically just going to be getting a feel and an idea of what is going on. And of course, we're going to be looking at the perspective of car makers. So first of all, let me just tell you that Hussein has featured in the 50 most influential global marketing leaders listing, and he's been voted by the Huffington Post as amongst the 10 people changing the Marcom landscape here in the MENA region. So Hussein, tell us, what is it that you do?
Well, in short, I'm handling the customer experience transformation division at Nissan Motor Corporation. So in Africa, Middle East, India, and Turkey. And it's quite a big region. And what's interesting about it is I'm working in the field, which is now becoming very much the buzzword in the region. Something which we know about it from a very long time. But I think 2018 is when really corporations started realizing the importance of having that function within their organizations. And if you look at how the roles of marketeers are being defined, is the future CMO is the one who's actually owning and championing customer experience in an organization. So that's just in a nutshell.
And just coining that last line of yours, so what is the present customer experience?
So the way to define customer experience is every touch point, honestly, that takes place with the customer. And the way I define it is actually customer experience from two fronts, internally within Nissan itself and externally with the end consumer or the potential consumer. Internally within Nissan, the more a company grows, you start having many different departments. And the fear here is that each department starts working very much in silo versus together. So what happens is each department starts having their own, if you want, KPIs or objectives that they want to reach. And they forget that at the end of the day, that solution that's being developed is actually going for an end consumer or an end user. So from my end internally, I got to make sure that whatever the marketing teams are doing, the sales teams are doing, after sales, so on and so forth, are actually devising a solution that's very well connected in order to appear as a cohesive product or a solution to the end customer. From the external side is making sure that that customer, in the case of Nissan, that customer, when he first sees the ad or first sees a TV commercial or online sitting on his couch, and he's actually quite interested. So I was able to create that curiosity in him. When he goes to our platform, how is the journey of that customer? And then all the way to going to a showroom. So how do you connect the offline to online to offline world, and you create that seamless thing? And the way we look at customers is in a couple of ways. One is somebody who just turned 18 years old and they want to buy a car. So it's the first experience of a person buying a vehicle. Or it's somebody who already owns a Nissan vehicle in this case, and he wants to renew his vehicle. Or the third one is somebody who owns a competing brand from Nissan, and we're trying to capture him to get him to buy a Nissan.
Admit it, it's the third category that's the most fun, right?
Actually, all three of them. To be very honest with you, all three of them, because each one of them poses a challenge on us. The 18-year-old, we're actually not competing with other brands. We're competing with the latest trends happening in the automotive industry, which is being disrupted. Yeah. So we are competing with the likes of the Ubers, the Careens, the Lyfts. We are competing with the new subscription modeling of vehicles, which is interesting. Because if you talk to the millennials, very few of them are actually aspiring to buy a car versus using the car for their own interests. The existing user, yes, it is a very big challenge to get him to jump on board. If you go now and look at the marketplace, the ads that are appearing is I've never seen a Lamborghini being sold to me in 2,000 dirhams installment per month, something that was not possible before. So the offers out there are insane. So there's a lot of options for somebody to go and buy a car. And the third one is the appealing one, is how do I really show what innovation I'm doing from my end in order to provide the right vehicle for that person to intrigue him to move from a competing brand to my brand.
So keeping these three categories in mind, how is that affecting and influencing your marketing as well as retaining your present customers?
There is another buzzword out there being used a lot is omni-channel. So
Yes.
basically, data, we've been talking about data for a very long period of time, but it's really starting to make sense of that data that corporations own is. And if you want, the end objective is really to capture a 360 view of that customer. Customers don't want to be hammered by if you want, mass messages. They want a message when it's reaching them, it's relevant to them. Yes. So me, as a Nissan owner, when I get a piece of communication talking to me, I want that piece of communication to show me that the company knows that I own a car versus just getting, come and buy a Nissan car.
Yeah, the relevance.
Yes. So very much the personalization plays a very big role. When I'm taking my car for service, I don't want to get a piece of message after 2 days telling me, why don't you, this is an offer for, maintenance, come and do your maintenance. I just came 2 days ago. So this really making sense of that data is something which is very important, and there are many challenges to that. One is the GDPR that came across, and how do you start protecting the data that you have and protect the consumers who are sharing those data with you? How do you ensure that you're targeting them at the right time with the right message? That plays another big role. So it's a mixture of so many things in order to be able to really address that message to your customer at the right time, in the right place, with the right context, so on and so forth.
Now, before I come back and talk to you about that buzzword data, just a show of hands from our audience. How many of you get bombarded with irrelevant marketing texts? Emails. Oh, look at that. There's some work to be done, hey, Hussein?
A lot. There's a lot. I mean, we've been talking about that for a very long time, but I think it hasn't become that crucial as much as the last couple of years, where really consumers are ready to dump you if you're going to keep hammering them.
It's very true. Consumers are ready to move on if you are constantly being hounded by repetitive messaging. Absolutely. Very true. Now, I'm going to go back to this data, the buzzword data, because of course it's everywhere. Every conference is talking about it. Every industry is talking about it. What is the big hype? And secondly, how is Nissan using it?
See, again, again, as I was talking about the silos, so each department was dealing with the data that they have very much in silos, rather than having this data, number one, grouped and inside a data warehouse. So you own one data warehouse where all this data is there, and the systems are actually connected together in order to give you as a marketeer or an after-sales person a full visibility as to that data belongs to which customer, what kind of message should I send to them at what time. And I don't think we're there. Very few organizations have been able to reach that 360 view of a customer, and here I feel very jealous. Anybody here working in unicorns, Careens, Ubers, anybody? Yeah.
Is that so that you know what to say next, Hussein?
Well, those are. I mean, I don't think they need to be here because they're mastering it. I mean, those unicorns or the companies that actually were born from the internet era are the ones which are really getting it right. So the Souks, the Amazons, the Netflix, those companies which you really appreciate. On a Thursday evening when I get that email from Netflix telling me what I should watch at night, is actually spot on correct. They're telling me the right kind of series that I want to watch. And that makes me happy that I'm dealing with a company that understands me. Spotify, when it knows that during that day, at that time, I'm actually going to do sports, and it knows the trends of what kind of music I'm listening to, and it's recommending it to me. So this is the kind of thing corporations need to move towards with regards to the data that they have, is really making sense of it, really making it to good use in an intelligent manner.
Do you know, I just want to actually add there, it's quite interesting how many factors do not do this full 360. For example, in the UK, immigration is not connected to UK customs, which in my opinion is a major mistake.
Yeah.
You know, because the two, to me, can be very interconnected.
Absolutely.
Now, looking at the UAE, the Emirates ID card is now collating mass data on an individual, where you're living,
Yes.
where your kid is at school, your fingerprints, your blood type, your residence visa status. And I think that almost needs to be incorporated into every country, every corporation.
Yeah. The smart Dubai government is doing a brilliant job at that. With that Emirates ID, which gives you access to all your information or your data. And unfortunately, even though you're seeing it being driven from the government itself, when you look at other industries, be it aviation, be it banking, telecom, which are the most industries that we deal with as consumers, the experience is drastic, is terrible. Yeah.
Still missing a link.
Oh, we're literally very much far away.
Yeah. So, coming on to that missing link, what are the challenges that Nissan are facing, and in the industry as a whole?
Yeah. So, as I was saying, the automotive industry is really witnessing a disruption, a major disruption. And it's not about now, while in the past we used to, promote this car, how big it is, and how big the engine is, and so on and so forth. Now we're moving into a different kind of communication. The kind of communication that shows why that vehicle is actually the right vehicle for you. So let me start from the beginning, is when you go to our platform. Once you land there, it actually looks for something we call model matchmaker. So basically, to really match you as an individual with the right vehicle that fits your needs. If you're a family person, if you're a person who likes to go to the mountains, so on and so forth. So then it tells you which kind of vehicles are the right ones for you. Once you choose those, you go to and you decide to do a test drive, you go to the showroom. When you get there, they know exactly who you are, you know exactly what kind of vehicle you chose to do your test drive in. So you got to really master those touch points in a seamless journey. And the way we did it is we broke down that journey into multiple mini journeys. And we start working on each one of those to identify what are the must-haves for individuals versus the nice-to-haves. See, many organizations fall in the trap of, I like this gadget or that component, let me have it. Those are what I call cosmetics, and those are just like, they might entertain consumers for a very, very short period, but on the long run, it will not pay off. So what's the challenge at our end is, as I was saying, customer experience is, as a function, has only been there for the last 2.5 years. So now we literally have a Chief Customer Experience Transformation Officer from Global, and then it got cascaded into the regions, then all the way to the markets. So 2018 was mainly really setting up those functions in the markets and looking at the infrastructure that's available. See, again, as I was saying, you've got the external customer and the internal one. The internal one is looking at all the foundation that you have. If your systems are not talking to each other, no matter what you do at the outside, you're still not going to be able to answer what the customers want in terms of experiences. So 2018 was the cleaning year for us and connecting all the systems. 2019 is when we started putting those plans into effect. And so now literally we handle customer experience in every single function. In order to ensure that online and offline, they're very much interconnected together and very much provide that journey. And we're able to measure actually the satisfaction with customers across every single journey and touch point.
I'm actually going to throw Hussein a bit of a curve ball in a minute, but I want a show of hands first of all. 7 years from now, how many of you think people will have sole ownership of a car? 7 years from now, how many people think they will have sole ownership of a car?
7 is a too long period, by the way.
You think 7 years is too far?
Yes.
Okay. What would be another 3,
I would say
5?
5.
Okay. The stakes are getting lower. How many of you think there'll be sole ownership in 5 years' time? Isn't that interested? Sir, we hope you will enjoy your exclusive car. There was one hand. So, Hussein, over to you. How is Nissan going to deal with the fact that, people are not going to be buying cars in the future? They are going to be online, they're going to be pressing buttons, a car will come to them, and as soon as that automotive car is done with their journey, it's automatically going to be going on to the next requested journey.
People are still going to drive cars, but the definition of owning a vehicle is going to change. You're still going to have the people who would want to buy a car and have the car for them, but you would have the people who are actually going to move into subscription modeling with the vehicles. Yeah. So just like you subscribe to Netflix or you subscribe to Spotify, you will subscribe to a vehicle. Today I want to go to the mountains. Great. I'm subscribed in the service and I want a 4x4 car. Tomorrow I want to go to the beach and I want a convertible car.
Oh, I like it.
In the evening, I'm going on a date and I want a sports car. So you subscribe to it, and it becomes seamless, and this is how you connect the online with the offline.
Okay, well, you've just sold the whole concept to me, Hussein. I will be getting rid of my car next week.
Don't.
Is Nissan ready for this transformation?
So we're currently piloting this project in India, subscription modeling. We've already piloted it, and we have it in operations in the US and in Europe. Another thing that we launched a couple of weeks ago is buying a car online. So from sitting on your sofa, you sell a car with the virtual showroom and all of that. Another thing is, as I was saying about the disruption in the automotive industry, electric vehicles are coming. Then we're seeing the autonomous vehicles coming. So it's inevitable. It's going to come. So people can keep opposing it, but it is coming. And trust me, people get used to it. The behavior of people get used to it. I've got my niece and nephew who, 5 years ago when these
age.
Now they're 14 and 15.
Yep, okay.
So 5 years ago when they jumped with me in the car, they're excited, it's a big car, yeah, and I love it, and this and that. Now they jump in the car is, why is the screen this size? And where do I hook up my charger for the mobile? And how can I connect my mobile to it? No, I want it to be faster. Their interests are completely different. And it's quite interesting how things are changing so fast. And it's going to pose a lot of challenge on many industries, including the automotive industry.
Yeah, indeed. My final question, carrying on with this theme, do you see a different marketing strategy for countryside residents utilizing cars versus the city dwellers?
Not really, to be very honest with you. Now, obviously, technology will play a very big role with the introduction of electric vehicles and so on. You will need to ensure that you've got the electric poles there to be able to charge your cars. But no, I don't see it that much different, at least in our part of the world. It could be the case in Europe or the US. I'm sorry, I'm not too familiar with that. I've already my own region to take care of, but it's very interesting. But when I look at, if you want the differences or the similarities between India, South Africa, and the Middle East, no, I don't see that much differences between the rural areas and the cities. A vehicle is still there to provide the needs for a customer. Again, I go back into the personalization as to that vehicle from the infotainment system and the connectivity system, and this is where the differences in the needs will vary. So the car is not about just taking you from point A to point B, but it has to be an experience for you.
Brilliant. Ladies and gentlemen, you've been listening to Hussein Dajani, General Manager of Nissan. Thank you.